Senator, what first do you make of just take this off the table, take this whole debt thing off the table, or at least the debt commission stuff off the table?
Well, it's just stupid. I mean, the debt commission covers a good roadmap on how we can address the debt. So it's just stupid. So we ought to move on to other things, and it ain't going to happen. So we ought to move on to other things like the tenor of this campaign, like the fact that Joe Biden, who is a nice guy, who I've known and been friendly with for many years, continues to say things that are unacceptable in American politics, and yet he seems to get away with it because it's just sort of a joke. Well, he crossed the line again with this statement about being in chains or putting people back in chains, and he should be held accountable. The Obama administration should be held accountable for this ad that basically alleges that Mitt Romney is responsible for the tragic death of a man's wife. And Neil, let me just finally say, what do you get if you win with this kind of campaign? What is, I thought about that a lot when I was running in 2008. If you run this kind of slash and burn gutter campaign that they're running, what happens when it's time to govern again? I would argue that it would be very difficult for anybody, any team that ran this kind of campaign to govern and bring people together come the following January.
Let's say if that is the case, Doug, and you stick to the high road on the issues and how we address entitlements, as Paul Ryan wants to do, and with his choice by Mitt Romney seems to indicate Mitt Romney wants to do. So you're on the high ground, but there's a lot of controversy and mudslinging back and forth because you dare talk about the third rail of politics, reining in the growth of entitlements, and that's all Congressman Ryan's been talking about with his plan, just reining in the growth, not ending it, just reining in the growth.
Yeah.
Risky?
And
what do you think?
And what is the alternative? What plan? Doug and I were just talking. Tell me one thing that the president is saying that he's going to do if he is reelected, and including they have no plan. 2024 is the end of Medicare. That's the Medicare trustees. What is their plan to save Medicare? They have none. Only attack and show clips of somebody dumping grandma off a cliff. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable, and I have to believe that between now and the next 90-some days, the American people are going to say, hey, what's going on here? What's their plan? They have none.
And Neil, you and I have had this conversation. I think the most important thing that's happening, and one of the things I admire about Mitt Romney choosing someone like Paul Ryan, is a frank adult conversation with the American people about how this has to change. It's not about politics. It's not about hijacking the debate. It's about the facts on the ground for something that's very important to Americans. And I would love to see a high-minded, principled discussion. We haven't seen that so far. But I think just by trying to have the discussion, they'll earn political points, and they'll also educate people about a real problem we face.
And could I just mention one other thing about it? The First Amendment, when we were debating Obamacare, was mine, that said send the bill back to the committee and restore the then $500 billion that have been cut out of Medicare. Now, his people will say anything, but the fact is that's the congressional record. The amendment that said restore the $500 billion that was being cut in the first round of Obamacare, it was voted down by the Democrats. Overwhelmingly, 2 Democrats voted with us not to cut $500 billion in Medicare.
By the way, Senator, on that point, and I do a couple of things on politics, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure.
A former top Bush official was quoted as saying, well, he admired the Paul Ryan choice by Mitt Romney, and that it would encourage this debate that both you and Doug want to see. It all but assured Mitt Romney will lose this fall. What did you think of that?
Oh, come on. Look, you know, there's so many experts around as to what people should do and what they shouldn't do and what the outcome will be. This is an honest campaign that has decided to take on the major issues facing America, and that is unless we fix entitlements, unless we stop this unlimited, unending spending and debt, accumulation of debt that Obama administration would mean, you know, in the next 4 years, after this 4 years, that we are going to have a bankrupt nation. And they want to have a conversation about it and how the American people need to address it, and the American people will, because they care about future generations as well as their own generation. So my answer is, I strongly disagree. I think we can change this whole conversation around.
All right, I was just wondering where you were coming from. Doug, this housing thing today, I mean, it comes at a time when Fannie and Freddie, they're trying to clamp down on banks to see that they could be more generous and all that, but we're still in a mess. This housing doesn't seem to be making much movement one way or the other. What are you guys doing today to address that?
Well, we came to Arizona because it has obvious travail from the housing collapse, and we bring national level experts here to Phoenix. We had some local experts, and quite frankly, we just learned a little bit about the problems on the ground. You can make a lot of mistakes if you just sit inside the Beltway in D.C. and not go out and really understand this. And I think we now know that going forward, we have to have reforms that are long overdue. The senator had a bill in 2006. It went nowhere. We still need better policies for Fannie and Freddie and clean off the liability for the taxpayer. But we also need to think hard about how can you get housing markets to recover. And our answer, from going to Las Vegas, Phoenix, Columbus, Ohio, Orlando, Florida, our answer is we need better growth policies, because only with jobs and with some money in their pockets will the people who have new households and want to own a home be able to get out of rental and into housing. And so the overall failure to have a comprehensive growth policy comes back to housing markets as well.
Senator, last night your former running mate Sarah Palin was on with my friend and colleague Greta Van Susteren, saying that given Joe Biden's remarks and his intemperate remarks throughout this campaign, her view, that the president might be wise to swap him out for Hillary Clinton. What do you think of that?
I think he might be wise to do that, but it's not going to happen, obviously, for a whole variety of reasons, including the fact I'm not sure if I were Hillary Clinton I'd want to be on that team.
Really?
But I think her ambitions, very frankly, are for 2016.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that would enhance that likelihood.
Donald Trump was just on with me, Senator, a couple of minutes ago, saying that he declined an invitation to speak. That's his take. And that he is going to do something, and it is a surprising announcement. I don't know what it was or what it is, but I'm sure you do. Can you tell us?
I don't know what he's going to do. I'm always informed and entertained with his appearances on your show and others, and I'm glad that Donald Trump is engaged in the political process, and I appreciate that. What he is going to do at the convention, I would have no idea, but with your persistent and unpleasant questioning, it came out that it's going to happen early. Maybe you should have.
Maybe I should have followed up. Yeah, I guess I should have followed up. That's your polite way of saying, why didn't you follow up? Senator,
we would know then.
We would know, yeah. All right, well, that's nice, guys. Just rub it in on my face on my show. Always a pleasure. Seriously, Senator Douglas, always good seeing you. Be well.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, well, you ever wonder who's